So I was inspired by John Hart to tell a story. Since John Hart's a friend from Beverly Hills High School, this story goes back to Beverly Hills High School about 1975 or 76 in, I think it was June. Um, so I didn't grow up in Beverly Hills, and consequently, when I got there in high school, I didn't have a lot of friends. But I did have a friend, we'll call him Larry Zed, just to keep the innocent protected. And Larry had friends, and one Saturday, Larry invited me to come hang out with him and his buddies that evening. And so I didn't have a lot of social engagements, and I was looking forward to this. And I prepared for it, and evening came, and Larry and I met up and drove over to these other friends' house up in the hills, above Beverly Hills. And when we got to the door, we were informed that they had been to the beach that day, and they'd met some other people that they were more interested in hanging out with than us, and we were invited to not hang out, which was a bit disappointing. And I had prepared, so it seemed a waste not to share some of what we had with them. And I may have been to Mexico earlier in the spring. So I lit an M80 and I tossed it over the fence. And it made that really satisfying whoop that an M80 only makes when it's detonated underwater. So it turns out that I had tossed it directly into the hot tub where 4 people were hot tubbing at the time. So Larry and I decided that'd be a good time to not be right outside the fence. So I ran across the street and jumped into over a retaining wall onto a bed of ivy and lay flat. And Larry ran up the hill. So our 2 friends came out of the front door like a swarm of angry hornets and proceeded to try to chase Larry up the hill. And I thought that would be a good time to light a second M80, which I tossed behind them as they were going uphill, and then I jumped out and ran down the street. After the second M80 detonated, I think that they decided not to chase us anymore, and they thanked us for sharing and said goodbye. I think that's what they said. I didn't understand the words they were saying, but I'm pretty sure they were thanking us. And they went inside. So Larry and I reconvened, and we're trying to decide how to fill our Saturday when a couple of vehicles came up the hill at fairly high. They were going faster than 25 miles an hour. And a couple guys got out, and we were instructed to put your hands in the air and walk towards me. So it seemed like a reasonable thing to do. I remember, I think I was in the street and Larry was on the sidewalk, and we were interviewed. And while they were interviewing us, some other cars came up, and one of the officers, because obviously they were officers that were there, I saw him with a flashlight going up to the back of the car. And as I said, I had prepared for this. So as he's shining the light into the car, I saw him do one of these. And that's when I knew they'd found my friend Stuffy. Stuffy was a mounted deer head that was in the back of the Datsun 280ZX, like looking out and up. So I guess he saw Stuffy's eyes and he thought there was something seriously amiss here. But eventually that all got cleared up, and they went their way, we went ours. We came to learn at the end, they told us they had gotten a call that there had been shots fired at Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett's house, and that's why their response was so prompt. But I'm sure this happens to all of you. I mean, but typically in Beverly Hills, those are the kind of things that happen when you're a teenager. And it's been fun sharing. Bye.